I just wanted today to talk to you about the Crucible research paper. I know many of you, especially my 16-weekers, are at the point right now, today is September 20th, Sunday, that you are starting to submit your rough drafts. And I just wanted to talk to you all about a few things so that you can think about these as you go to submit, before you submit your final drafts and when you're in the revision stage. I just wanted to talk about a few things. I'll start at the top. I wrote a note at the top saying, remember, the following are minimum requirements in order to receive a passing grade. Always do extra in order to achieve a paper within the B to A range. And as you all know from rubrics are the minimum requirements. And even when it says in the A range, you still have to go above and beyond to get that A and to do a good job on that and show that you really have an understanding of how to write a paper and you've talked about all the things and analyzed all the things that need to be discussed in your papers. So just think about that as you write. Okay, so this is just sort of an instructional video, how to take it to the next step. So first of all, it says choose one of the following topics to discuss in your papers. So right here I wrote choose one, oh, it should say one, sorry, of the following topics that you know how you will do a good job on. If you usually have trouble coming up with an original idea, or you have trouble focusing on what am I going to write about, I would suggest doing number 1 or number 2, because those are more guided. And so for instance, let me read number 1. In the play The Crucible, many of the characters learn things about themselves as well as others. Discuss the insight gained by the characters of Elizabeth Proctor, Reverend Hale, and John Proctor. So as you can see, you have your 3 paragraphs right there, 3 main point paragraphs. The first one could be about Elizabeth Proctor and the insight she has gained, the process of rebirth as a human being from the beginning of the play to the end. And you can give 3 examples with 3 quotes from stating either what Elizabeth said or something that someone else said about how she has changed as a person. And then your second paragraph could be about Reverend Hale. That could be about his process of change throughout the paragraph, throughout the play, The Crucible, and you could talk about beginning, middle, and end. And again, the third paragraph about John Proctor, beginning, middle, and end, 3 quotes. And I wanted to jump down here really quickly where it says essay requirements. And it says use at least 3 quotes from the play, must be in a grade. Now that is stating 3 quotes total. That's a minimum in order to receive a C, just so you all know. That's to get a 70, to be in the 70 range. So if you're looking for an A, you're going to have 3 quotes per each main point paragraph. So in paragraph 1 main point, you will have 3 quotes from Elizabeth Proctor, for example. In paragraph 2, you will have 3 quotes from Reverend Hale or about Reverend Hale. And then same with paragraph 3, from or about John Proctor. Now, another way you can do number 1 is talk about the first paragraph, the beginning of the play, what were they like? And then 1 quote about each of them. That could be first paragraph. In the second paragraph, by the middle of the play, Act 2, beginning, middle, and end, Act 2, Elizabeth, Reverend Hale, and John Proctor. What have they learned by the middle of the play? What are they going on? Is there some change going on in the middle of the play? And then in Act 3, at the end of the play, with John, with all 3 again, at the end, from Elizabeth, Reverend Hale, and Proctor, either quotes that they said or that someone said, the narrator said about them, or another character. And by the way, you can have more than 3 quotes per each character. You can have 5 or 6. It's just, these are minimum requirements in order for you to pass the paper. So again, if you're looking to just if you've always struggled with writing and you just want to be careful, at least 3 quotes from the play total will get you in the C range as long as you have met all the requirements from the play. But I want to highly recommend that you spend a little bit of time each day as you're working on this paper to make it the best possible and to go ahead and do what you can to do a good job. And revise every day. Walk away, do a paragraph and then walk away. And then the next day, come back to it. Read the play again, because you'll find more as you're reading through the play again. You'll find better quotes. And as you all know, you can't just read something one time and understand it. Nobody does. You have to read it several times. There are people that spend their whole lives, literature professors, reading and rereading and analyzing and reanalyzing. No one gets everything the first time because this was written by someone else and no one expects you to. But what your teachers do expect you to do, and I'm your teacher, and I certainly expect you to, is to read and reread this play again. And you all know the more you do that, the better your papers will be and the better your understanding of the play will be. And that's really important. And when you're writing essays, you want to show that you are an expert in what you're reading. And that's the whole point. not only in reading the play, but in writing about the play. All right. And so anyway, as you can see, I just gave you 2 different ways in which you can break down number 1. And just kind of think about that as your, whatever appeals to you. And honestly, either way, as long as it's well done, either way, that could be an A paper right there. In number 2, it says analyze one of the themes found in the Crucible and discuss how it is prevalent throughout the play. Why is it important as a reader to recognize these themes? And again, think about the major themes going, that there are several within the play. That's why this is a good topic too. One of our discussion posts, our most recent one, was about integrity, and you can write about that, or you can go even a little bit deeper too. So, and I don't want to give everything away, and you all can sort of figure that out as you read, but if you want to pick one of those themes, and again, just go in great detail. Have 3 quotes per each main point. Do a good job with it, and have your analysis. That's really important to do that. And I'm going to do a writing chat this week to teach you the 1, 2, 3 rule. And that's how you set up a quote, give the 5 W's the context, who is speaking to whom, what are they talking about, where are they. You're going to set up the 4 W's in the setup of your quote. And then number 2 in the 1, 2, 3 rule is actually adding the quote itself and, citing it, who's saying it, that sort of thing. And then rule number 3 is analyzing the quote. You need to relate the quote back to the point you're making in your main point topic sentence. That's really important. And what you need, and most kids really, in their first papers every year, I see it, leave that part out. But that's the part that gets you in the A range, is making that connection. And all you're doing, and don't worry about it and don't think it's a big deal, but all you're really doing is making that connection between why that quote is in your paper. What's the point? How does it, you need to connect it back to your main point topic sentence. So you need to justify, think of it as justifying why it's in your paper. Your reader needs to know. Otherwise, you're leaving it up to us to guess. And again, that's going to get you, not a good grade. So just think about that when you're writing. It's really not a big deal. It's just making sense. And, my math and science people out there, if you're like less fond of writing a paper, I understand that. But think about this as, because I love all subjects, I love math and science too. Think about this as sort of a lab that you're writing out with your hypothesis and your conclusion. I love those because you're proving your thesis to be true. That's really your hypothesis. Your thesis statement is your hypothesis, and then your main point paragraphs are all the steps in your lab experiment. And then your conclusion is really your conclusion in your paper is like your conclusion in your lab, so in your lab write-up. So think of it that way. Writing a paper is very scientific. It's very logical. So for my people who love logic, and I love logic too, think of it that way, and you will do really, really well on this. Okay, let's see. That was number 2. Number 3, analyze the change or lack of change undergone by the main characters. Why is this significant to the overall plot of the story? And again, you can think about the main characters. Does John Proctor change? Does Elizabeth Proctor change? Does Reverend Hale change? I mean, this in a way could be very similar to number 1. Does Abigail Williams change, the ultimate bad girl? Anyway, think about Reverend Paris. Who changes and who doesn't, and why or why not? And, that could be good. That's a little more open-ended. So my people who are having trouble with papers, I might not choose 3 because I think that might cause you a little bit more trouble. Okay, number 4, it says, analyze the role of Reverend Hale or Mary Warren in the Crucible. Why is their character a vital role in the play? What can readers learn from them? Again, this might be a little more challenging too because it's a little more open-ended, but I think if you like to write papers and you kind of want to go off on your own, this might be interesting as well. Reverend Hale is an interesting character, and you really have to pay attention to him to do a good job on that. And Mary Warren as well. She's just sort of a shady bad gal herself. So anyway, that would be fun, but again, be careful with that one. Essay requirements. Okay, I want to talk about this because this is, again, basic MLA format, everyone. You have to do this, and no crazy fonts, no crazy type size, no bold and underline where it's not supposed to be. Just follow MLA guidelines and look on Purdue OWL. Look on the Purdue Online Writing Lab. Google it, open it up, and keep it next to you when you're writing your paper as you type, because that will really help you not make any mistakes. And they even have a sample paper on there. Look at that. What does the first page look like? You need to do your page numbers. You need to paginate your paper. You need that works-cited page at the end, and that's a very specific format. Don't give me any reason to knock off more points because of MLA format. That should be a very simple thing. Let's review it. Okay, so your final paper should be at least 3 pages typed in length. Now, again, if you're doing what I'm telling you to do up here and to get into that BA range, you are going to have more than 3 pages. So this again, 4-paragraph minimum. Yeah, I'm not really seeing that. A 5-paragraph essay is a basic essay. This is something that's in the content pages, and I totally disagree with that. It should be a basic 5-paragraph essay with your intro paragraph, your main point 1 paragraph, main point 2 paragraph, main point 3 paragraph, and conclusion. That's a 5-paragraph essay. I don't know why this says 4. That must be a typo. So you need 5 paragraphs. Your paper should be at least 3 pages, but again, if you're looking for an A, and before you know it, and I'm going to give you some writing tips this week, look out for a lot of news items, everyone, because I'm going to give you a lot of great writing tips. I also am going to talk about this in my Adobe session, which is tomorrow, September 21st. So my 16-weekers, I need you to watch that, and I need you to ask me any questions you have about it. And I'll even show you a little sample paper from one of the students, so without any names, of course, but I'm going to show you a sample of what I'm talking about and what you need to do. But I want you to also email me if you have any questions before Monday night so I can talk about this stuff during our Adobe sessions. Okay, and then my 12 and 14-weekers, make sure you go back and look at that recorded session, Adobe Help session under user links, from Monday, September 21st, because I'm going to talk a lot about that one, about the Crucible research paper, because my 16-weekers are about to submit the final one. Okay, so your paper should be at least 3 pages. Again, if you're looking for an A, it's probably going to be double that, probably 5 to 6 pages, maybe 7. Some of you might even write a 10-page paper. Beautiful. Some people have 1 example paragraph. You have 3 examples in each of your main points. So and those are your quotes. So, and some of you have multiple quotes, and I know we really extended that when I was in the brick and mortar school. So when I was teaching this, we had 1 paragraph per 3 paragraphs for each main point. So you can extend it that way and really delve deeply into this and have, 3, 6, 9, 12, 8, 3 times, you can have many, many quotes. So you can have 12 quotes, you can have 21, whatever you want, but make it good and make them relevant. Okay, so let's talk about MLA format. Typed, double-spaced, obviously typed here on the computer, Times New Roman font, ignore or a similar font. Just use Times New Roman font. It's easy to read, it's plain, and it's good. So just use Times New Roman font. 12-point type only. That shouldn't say font, that should say type size. Correct headings and header. 1-inch margins all around, everyone, no more, no less. And correct headings and header, that means at the top you will have your title, you will have your header is the thing that's at the top, that's a 1-inch, you're going to put 1 inch all around. And you're just going to add your page numbers. And if you started on your page number on page 1, I don't really care. Some people care, I don't, just because I know some people have trouble with that, and I want you to focus on the main stuff. So you can go ahead and start paginating on page 1 if you want. Okay, the third bullet point, at least 3 quotes from the play must be integrated within your paper, and again, that's to get a 70. So if you're looking to get a B or an A, you're going to have many more than that. And my A papers will probably have about 10 to 12 quotes, I would say. And remember to write in third person only, like you are the narrator. And also, now I talked about this, let me go to the next bullet point. You also need to use literary present tense. Watch your verbs, please. And again, literary present tense, this is a really good point in your content pages, everyone. When you're talking about the introduction, you're going to talk about, if you're talking about the history and why Arthur Miller wrote The Crucible, remember he published it in 1952 and it was first performed in 1953. That was, 60-some years ago, 65 years ago or so, 62. So that was a long time ago. So when you're talking about actual historical events, that's in the past tense, in the introduction, that's fine. When you're in your main point paragraphs and you're discussing the play, always keep that in literary present tense. So talk about it as if it were happening now, and be careful with your verbs. So don't go back and forth between past and present unless you're going back to Act 2 when so-and-so, when John Proctor first approached Abigail in Act 2, da-da-da-da-da. So think about that, but just make sure it all makes sense and makes sense to you, and reread and edit and re-edit your papers all over again before you submit both your draft and your final papers in the Dropbox. Seriously, walk away, every day walk away from your papers and then come back the next day and you will see something that you didn't catch. That's the best way to do it. Even if you walk away for a couple hours, like just do it in the morning, walk away, and then come back at night and look at it again. You'll always catch mistakes, and that's what I like to do. Okay, and then it says create an original title. I noticed a couple of you have already submitted and it says the Crucible research paper. No, 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 that's not good. So just make sure, come up with a creative title. This is a very creative play. It's excellent. So be creative. That's a place also for you to shine with your creativity. So show me how